So from the Hill today, Congress has questions for Google's censor vault. Basically, the Congress sent a letter to Google because they save location data in what they call a sensor vault. Apparently, even when you don't have your GPS turned on, various Google services are providing information from network data and things of that all gets saved into this sensor vault, and they archive it. According to Google policies, supposedly it's to improve their services and do things like tell you when restaurants are the most busy or where traffic is the worst. But it comes off really creepy, and Congress has some questions that boil down to like, are you sharing this information? Who has access to it? How accurate is it? Those sorts of things. So on the surface of it, I can see it's kind of creepy Big Brother feel, but the older I've got, the more I realize that, or the more I've realized, I just don't really care for privacy. I don't really care. Like, I'm using the bathroom. Yeah, please don't look. But at the end of the day, like, I just don't care if Google has my location data. People who are going to actively try to seek me out to hurt me, they're not going to try and hack Google to get my location data and then hunt me down. My concern mostly boils down to, this big data business. What are they going to do with that data that could be nefarious to the populace? Maybe not to the individual, but certainly to the people as a whole. I mean, we know these businesses are not always altruistic or have our concerns in mind. So, what do you feel about privacy? Yay, nay? I mean, important? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I don't like the way you constructed that question, so I'm going to ignore it. And I'm just going to ignore it and then just make a set of remarks that I was preparing in my brain as you were talking.
Fantastic.
Because I think this is a hugely complex issue. And I think part of the problem is the use of the word privacy. And so I almost want to advocate for a new set of terms to sort of name the creepy part of what we're talking about with these practices. Because the idea, I think, that people recoil against, it might still be like the example you used was like, well, I don't want you looking at me when I'm in the bathroom. But do you really care? Do you really care if there's a 1 in a crazy number chance, a 1 in a million, 1 in 10 billion chance that an employee somewhere now or in the future might glance over a data point that indicates that you were in the bathroom, or let's even just say that it was full on video with no context at some juncture? Is that the same thing as like if I just burst into the bathroom and look at you? Does that word even convey data that is useful?
I know for me, when I'm
not
at work,
articulating it well because I'm just thinking about this, but
I understand that. And when I'm at work, on the John, as it were, playing on my phone, my fear for privacy there is not that, like, oh, someone might be observing me. It's that when I look up and I make eye contact and I'm half naked. That's the part where, like, I get creeped out, is because, like, I don't really care if you see me. I just don't want to know that you're watching. Or even if I know, like, there's this intimacy of being so close to someone that you don't know that now they're just staring at your junk. That bothers me more than the idea of like having like this impersonal passive camera that might see me naked or know where I am. Or I don't really care about
speaking
that.
purely at the level of, I don't know, theory or hypothetical, if there was no chance that any of the things that you wanted to do or that you were doing, if there was no chance of it affecting your life negatively, then I don't think we would want privacy. I don't think it would be valued. I.e., when the reason we don't want people to see us naked is a social construct, and it's because we don't want to be ridiculed. There's a lot of negative things that we associate with the shape of the human body, and there are deeply culturally significant taboos, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
If those weren't there, we wouldn't care about those things. For example, there could just as easily be a culture where to have someone see you scratch your head would be the most intimately invasive, horrific, like traumatizing experience that you could have. It would be like somebody throwing you into the middle of a crowd out of your chair when you were masturbating or some shit.
Yeah.
And whether or not that culture exists, the spectrum of what we call privacy and what we value as being private, I don't think that applies to the situation that we're trying to discuss, where companies are collecting huge, vast amounts of data and then not really telling us what they're doing with it, or the methodology that they're using to arrive at a point where they're willing and desirous of collecting that data.
Yeah, and I like the way you put that, because it's not about the privacy. It's about, like, what are you doing with my information, or what are you doing with these observations, and that's the part that's bothering me.